Well, good morning and welcome to the show. We're just leaving a little place called Kabatibi this morning, and we're with our mate TJ here, who's an expert on this.
Lumpy, you promised to take me fishing this week.
Oh, mate, look, I'm sorry I don't know how to say stop in Turkish, but I promise I'll take you next week. No worries for sure, okay? We got rid of him. So, our friend TJ here is an expert on Gallipoli. We're going to be fishing just off Gallipoli Cove this morning, fishing for some things called sea bream, mackerel, I'm not sure what else. We'll let you know as we go along. Let's see how we go. I'm on. Yes. Looks like a garfish. Not very big. Whoa. In Australia, we'd call this an alligator gar. For obvious reasons, I don't know if you can pan in on with the camera lens there, but that's why they call them an alligator gar. They go quite big in Australia. On the Barrier Reef, I've seen them up to 4 foot long. Anyway, he's attacked that with some gusto. We'll see if we can get another one. Well, we've thrown the anchor over here, and let me have a look at the sounder there. About 21 metres of water. I think it's metres, yeah. A few fish sounding on the showing on the sounder, and our fisherman for the day, who's kindly hired the boat, is just opening up these mussels. Apparently this is what they're using for bait. The hand line there, looks like he's using that with a fairly big sinker. There doesn't seem to be a lot of current here. Apparently the tides are very small, about 1.5 foot maximum. I think it's mostly the same all through this part of the world. And he's using what we call a paternoster rig there. He's got the sinker at the bottom, and then the hooks dropping off the side. Looks to me like he's got a few hooks probably, with about 1 foot drop off the side. I'll put this down, see what happens. I think Paul's fallen asleep up the front there, so it's fairly windy out here. We're about probably 1 kilometre offshore.
What, you started fishing already?
Oh, would you wake up, did you?
Gee, no doubt about it.
Oh, gee, I'm getting a few bites too,
Oh, you're
Paul.
just pretending.
Yeah, well, we'll see
I
about
know,
that,
but you're
mate.
just
We'll see
pretending,
about
mate.
that.
It's all an act.
I think this is the only line he's got too, mate. I'm on. I don't know what it is. It's not real big, but it's a fish. What have we got? Hey, look at that dude. Hey, I got two.
Two.
Double header.
Look at that.
Hey?
Hey, when do I get a go?
Pretty. Look at that guy. Isn't he pretty? We'd call that some sort of a hussar in Australia. And this one is, I don't know, what is this one? DJ?
Hanus. We call them Hanus.
Hanus.
Hanus, yeah.
Okay. Neato.
That one
How's
we
that?
call the
Double header
Ismarit.
first drop.
Ismarit.
Ismarit.
Ismarit, yeah.
Well, there you go, folks. Ismarit. How much money have you got with you, Paul?
Lots.
Lots. Good. This is what's going to cost you to get this line out of my hands.
I got bite, yep.
It is the lucky line. I want it back when you finish with it, please.
Whoop. Yep.
What is it?
The small sea bream, yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Wow.
Same
Lucky
thing. Look at that
one,
in the
yeah.
sunlight there. That's pretty, isn't it?
Yeah, beautiful colour.
There's a few fish here. I just got a bite too. Paul, how are you going?
Wow.
Whoa. PJ, we were just before coming past Anzac Cove there, where they landed in 1915. Now, why? Suvla Bay here seems nice and flat. The area's flat. Why would they land on that point where the ridge is so steep and where the enemy can cover them with gunfire so much easier than they could get it on the beach there.
You know, the intended landing place was Cavatippe actually originally, and Cavatippe Brighton Beach, English names.
Ah.
Meant to land there, but
Okay.
still unclear what was the main reason.
Yeah.
Actually, like, you know, why the Anzacs landed to, you know, the Anzac Cove. But my personal opinion, and I can say that I reckon they landed right spot. Because if the Anzacs had landed to Brighton Beach, there's no chance, because heavily defended by the Turks.
Okay.
Okay, it's not many Turks in around the Anzac Cove area, and just 160 Turks actually on the hill.
160?
Just 160.
Is that all?
Yep.
How many Allied soldiers landed there as opposed to the 160 Turks that are up on the hill?
End of today, by evening, about 15,000 Anzacs actually landed to Anzac Cove. But the Holland campaign, about 8,700 Australians actually died, and casualties actually 8,700 Australians, and almost 2,700 New Zealanders. About 26,000 British, 10,000 French. Whole campaign, the Gallipoli campaign, actually lasted about 9 months.
Have some more bait, please. There's bait thieves have been at my line.
So why did the British and French fleet try to get through the Dardanelles?
The major point was then they're trying to help Russia.
Right.
They're trying to help Russia. The Dardanelles actually was strategically vital.
Yeah.
Control of the waterway by the Allies would mean the opening of a supply line to Russia.
Okay.
And the elimination of Turkey from the war.
I don't know, you guys, are you getting any bites, TJ?
No?
Nothing at all. I think we've outfished the spot or fished it out, one or the other. What's the chances of going back to Anzac Cove and having a fish there? Is any good spot?
Yeah.
All right, why don't we do that? We'll pull the anchor up, and after the commercial break, we'll be right back. There wasn't many Turks.
Just 160 Turks.
Everybody who comes to the Gallipoli Peninsula finds it a very moving experience. Behind me is Shrapnel Valley, where the Anzacs made it on the first day and where they set up a stronghold to reach up to the front, further up to my left. 660 men lie buried in the graves behind me here. And yet even in this place, it must have been a hellhole with the sounds of gunfire and the cries of wounded men. Yet even here, God was present in the person of a wonderful Christian minister, Salvation Army chaplain named William Mackenzie. Now, as it happened, Mackenzie often wrote to his loved ones, but also to his Salvation Army superiors. And I'm just going to read from one of William Mackenzie's letters. Here Mackenzie is writing to his commissioner back home. What a tremendous sense of responsibility it gives one when preaching to know and to realise
What
that
a tremendous sense of responsibility it gives one when preaching to know and realise that he is looking into the faces and talking to a crowd of men, some of whom will have been killed or wounded when next Sunday comes around. This has actually been the case each week here. Last night, when talking to the men, I was obsessed with the idea and yearned with unutterable longings to lead them to the blessed Saviour. Now I can understand the significance of Duncan Matheson's prayer while he was waiting among the soldiers in the Crimea, where he continually prayed in his prayer, Lord, stamp eternity on my eyeballs. One is very near to the eternal here. Indeed, all subterfuges are indeed torn aside, and one is even treading on the threshold of the eternal world and marching in step with the sinister shadow of death. He has torn a few from my side this week. They are taken. I am left yet a little while to carry on my work, which I hope is acceptable unto God. On August the 4th, large forces were landed at Anzac Beach and brought into camps near the 1st Australian Division. We then knew that we were to make a charge on the Lonesome Pine, a strong Turkish position, on Friday, August the 6th. At 4:30 p.m. the guns opened, the naval howitzer and field guns. They pounded the Turkish trenches for an hour. Every gun the Turks could command replied, and the noise was terrible. While the experience of shells walloping our trenches that were full of men was nerve-wracking, and men trembled from head to foot, I, despite it all, felt strangely elated and somewhat excited over the prospects. As I walked through the trenches encouraging the men, Private McNaughton said to me, "You're not coming without a rifle and bayonet." And I replied, "Boys, I've preached to you and I've prayed with you. Do you think I'm afraid to die with you? I'd be ashamed of myself to stay when you were up against it here." So we got ready to attack.
The Battle of Lone Pine has forever immortalised the valour and skill of Australian fighting men. But through the eyes of that remarkable Salvation Army chaplain, William Mackenzie, we also see the faith of numbers of those men who were fighting at that time. One was Private Gale, who wanted to assure his friends and family back home that he had remained a Christian man, notwithstanding all that he'd been through in the Gallipoli campaign. And Mackenzie was able to communicate that information back home. The other was James McGregor. Now, McGregor came from a Christian family, but he himself was not someone who had personally directed his faith towards Jesus. And he approached Mackenzie 4 days before the Lone Pine charge.
9th of September. Dear Commissioner Hay, Private James McGregor was a typical Celtic Scot of magnificent proportions, a pleasing, open countenance with integrity. One afternoon, McGregor presented himself and asked could I spare a few minutes to talk to him. It was evident that he was laboring under great emotions. He was reluctant to reveal his true religious feelings. Being somewhat relieved by a few kindly words, he produced from his pocket a tract with the title, "What Side Are You On?" And handing this to me, he said, "Will you please explain that to me? I want to be on the side of Jesus, but I don't know how to get there." Meanwhile, his whole frame quivered, and 2 great glistening tears stood in his eyes. And opening the New Testament, we read some of the exceedingly great and precious promises of Jesus to the sinning sons of Adam. And then I simply explained the fundamental truths of salvation and saving grace. The earnest seeker meanwhile listening with tears streaming down his cheeks. Soon James McGregor joyfully received Jesus into his life as we knelt side by side in earnest prayer on the floor of our hallowed dugout on the hillside of Gallipoli, even though the guns and rifles were booming and rattling overhead. The young convert was a new man, and his whole beaming demeanor bespoke the change. As I shook his hand in welcome to a new brother in Jesus, he said, "Oh, I'm glad I came to see you. I have wanted to come for weeks past, but I didn't like to." As he left, he said, "I have got the joy of salvation in my soul now." James McGregor was among those who fell in the charge by the 1st Brigade on Lone Pine trenches, and it was my painful duty to lay the shattered and broken body in the grave of a soldier, where his resting place is marked by a small wooden cross. Killed in action, 6th of August, 1950.
I'm standing right next to one of the trenches here at Gallipoli. Behind me is Lone Pine, where Paul and Lumpy just visited. And down to my left is Suvla Bay, where the boys went fishing this morning without me. And what I've decided to do today is a simple sautéed carrot salad with the yogurt and garlic dressing. This is a delicious light fare on a really hot summer's day. You need 8 carrots. They're sautéed for about 10 minutes in 200 mils of olive oil till they're just soft. I've crushed 3 cloves of garlic in some yogurt, mix that with a little bit of salt. That gets added onto the carrot. Chopped up roughly half a cup of flat leaf parsley. Got some orange or grapefruit peel mixed in there. Just a matter of tossing it all together. This is just delicious food, light food when the weather's really hot. So we can just serve some of this up. We can just garnish this with some grapefruit or orange wedges, a little bit of parsley. There you have it.
TJ, this is pretty good, isn't it?
Oh, it's beautiful, yummy.
Glenn, I'm surprised, mate. Despite my misgivings, this is really, really good.
Thanks, Lumpy. Just make sure I get to go
All
fishing
right.
next
Say no
week.
more. Say no more. Iron cast gold rolled, guaranteed, mate. No problem at all. Yep. Next week we're going to Assos. See you then.
When travelling to Turkey, keep in mind that nobody knows Turkey like Turkey Share.
There's about 4 foot of mud underneath us here. I'm glad I got big flat feet.
If you'd like to find out more information about the Christian message, then grab a pen and write down the 1-800 number at the end of the show. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to your company again next week.